This is part two of our video notes for today. We're going to take a look at, once again, the tricky personals, and we're going to then take a look at the reciprocal pronouns. So once again, remember with subjects, we have certain pronouns that have to work as subjects. And once again, that's usually pretty natural for us. So if I say, we or us were all wondering why he or him had decided to eat that raw onion like an apple at lunch, well, we would all naturally choose the word we and he. And the reason we're doing that is because those are both subject pronouns. Those are subjective case or nominative case pronouns, and we're basically creating subject positions. So the whole challenge of pronouns is figuring out what position is open and then say, okay, if it's a subject position, choose a subject pronoun. If it's a predicate nominative position, choose a nominative case pronoun. And so once again, these are subject positions. We're just simply demonstrating that there are multiple subjects within a sentence. We is the subject of were, but he is the subject of had decided. So multiple subjects, so be aware of that. With predicate nominatives, these are one of the tricky ones. So if I said the winners of the debate should have been we or should have been us because of our ideas, but the class was swayed easily by the other team's glittery poster. I know my gut says us, but my gut would be wrong because I'm following a to be verb. This is a little tricky. I want you to see that the verb is should have been. And so the main verb is always the last verb, and it's the verb that basically tells me whether it's an action verb or a linking verb or a to be verb. And so even though there are these helpers, these auxiliaries, should and have, the main verb is been. We learned that back in Unit 2. We took on the verb expansion rule. And so I want you to see that we're basically saying as the winners should have been we. And so we're creating a pattern 3 again, where we're making that we is the predicate nominative. And so I have to use the predicate nominative pronoun, which would be a nominative case. And therefore, I'm going to use that word we. Be careful of that one. We also talk about subjects of ellipticals. So if I said, is anyone else as excited as I or as excited as me to be studying pronouns today? Absolutely not. But I'm going to use that word I. Once again, I can hear that I'm creating something which is elliptical. Is anyone else as excited as I am excited? And so it's really the subject of an elliptical clause, an imaginary clause in this sentence. So I have to use that word I. We also talked about objective case pronouns. And so direct objects are pretty easy. If I said looking for a prom date, he approached she or he approached her with the smooth, slick walk of a playa on a rap music video. Well, we would all naturally choose the word her. And the reason is because we're creating a direct object. He approached direct object her. It's a direct object, so I choose the objective case pronoun her. If I said knowing that he cheated on her, she gave him a piece of her mind in front of the entire cafeteria. Well, we would use the word him. And the reason we use the word him is it's an indirect object. She's giving a piece of her mind to him. And the indirect object means we use an objective case pronoun. It's really essential that you have that list of nominative and also objective case pronouns so you can kind of say, okay, I know which one I'm going to choose. Here's once again are the tricky ones, the objects of prepositions. If it weren't for they, if it weren't for them, she would never have become such a successful oncologist. And so she thanked her parents at her graduation from med school. Well, here I'm coming off this preposition of for. If it weren't for, and therefore it's going to be the word them. It's a prepositional phrase for them. And therefore I use the objective case pronoun. The new thing I want you to write down today is on what we call reciprocal pronouns. So there are 2 reciprocal pronouns, each other and one another. They're pretty easy to understand the difference between them. So reciprocal pronouns basically show what we call reciprocation of action. I do something for you, and then you turn around and do something for me. It comes from the same idea of reciprocal fractions in math, of 3/4 and 4/3. It's sort of a back and forth sort of motion is reciprocation. So each other is used for two people, 2 things, 2, etc. We use one another for 3 or more. That's it, basic rule. So if I said Morgan and Zach gave each other foot rubs to relax before the board races, we would use each other because I'm referring to Morgan and Zach, and they're 2, so I use each other. If I said Tori, Jesse, and Lindy met at the Route 30 diner with empty stomachs, then they challenged one another to a pancake eating contest, I use the word one another because the word they, which is what one another is referring to, they is actually referring to Tori, Jesse, and Lindy. And there's 3 of them, so I get to use one another. That's it. Doesn't get much easier than that. That's the end of another special grammar moment brought to you by Marshmallow Productions. All right, so with that being said, you have a worksheet to practice these tricky nominative and objective case pronouns, as well as to practice these reciprocals. And that's about as far as I want you to get with your pronouns today before we move over to working on our writings.